Hi, English 201. Not a lot of work this week. You're focused on your papers. Work on those. Read Rosendale for next Tuesday. It's another retelling of Frankenstein. Frankenstein is a story that we do not seem to have finished telling ourselves after 200 years. But since we're kind of focused on other things, I did want to talk a little bit about why I start the class with Frankenstein and why I think this particular novel um, is useful for this particular class. The first is that it raises just a lot of really great questions. That's what your papers are about. You know, what counts as a person? What counts as a monster? How should society be structured? How is gender being represented? How is criminal justice being represented? You know, that it raises a lot of really interesting questions, I think, and then kind of gives you a really meaty text to work with. The second is that I find that a lot of students, when they come to introductory literature courses, really want to read like social workers. By which I mean they want to kind of go into the house and fix things. They want to say, okay, this person needs therapy. This person is a bad parent. This person needs to be removed from the situation. They kind of want to do case studies and then, like a social worker, fix or make better whatever is happening. And that won't work because they're not real people. And so Frankenstein kind of actually engages that idea because I'm really focused on trying to get people to not read counterfactually, right? If Victor had done this, then that would have happened, right? And that's a counterfactual because the fact is Victor does these different things. And a counterfactual would be, oh, if Victor had done this, then that would have happened. But you cannot know that. You can never know that. But trying to get rid of that impulse, particularly for students, is really difficult because it's how we're often trained to read. And so one of the things I like about Frankenstein is that you can find a version with the counterfactual that you're looking for. If you want a version in which human society is nice to the creature, you can watch the 1931 film. The little girl, when she sees the creature, doesn't run away or scream. She wants to play with him. She welcomes him into her garden. She gives him flowers, and he kills her. Which is part of the argument of the 1931 film, which is that monsters need to be destroyed. They change the creature into someone with an abnormal brain, right? That the 1931 film um, unlike the 1818 novel, starts with this idea of the creature is a blank slate. The creature is a tabula rasa. The creature learns what it means to be human from reading books and watching humans, and then finds out that he's actually not welcome in that space. And it's very distressing and upsetting for him. Whereas in the 1931 film, the creature is not a blank slate. The creature has the abnormal brain and therefore has to be expelled from human society. So, if you want any of those counterfactuals, if you want to know what would have happened if women had more agency, if you want to know what would happen if Victor hadn't abandoned the creature and had raised it, you know, these all exist, and they also all go really badly. Um, I also chose Frankenstein because I think that there are very few literary texts that have the kind of iconic status that Frankenstein has. So you will see Frankenstein everywhere. We're going into Halloween. You will mostly see the creature from the 1931 film. And in studies of reading, in brain imaging of the reading brain, when a person encounters a word, their brain actually flips through all of the possible meanings of that word before it settles on the meaning that's going to make the most sense. So if you see the word bug, your brain says, oh, that could be a listening device. That could be a Volkswagen. That could be an error in a code, in computer code. Um, that could be an insect, right? There are all these different meanings of the word bug. And so if you have a richer vocabulary, neuroscience tells us that you actually have a richer experience of reading, that the words are kind of more meaningful for having all these different meanings in your brain. And I think that that happens with Frankenstein, that when you are looking at the cookies with the monster from the 1931 film in the storefront of the bakery, and your brain goes, okay, there's the 1818 novel, there's the 1931 movie, there's this other one, there's this other one, right? You're actually having a richer experience, and I want you to feel smarter for having read this novel. I want you to walk around this Halloween feeling like a smarter person because you know the history of that image that everyone else is using. When you see someone with a Frankenstein tattoo, when you read about Frankenfoods, I want you to feel smarter. And I think that this novel will do that for you. The last thing is that Frankenstein makes an argument that I have wanted to make about literature that I think is really important about literature, which is that literature is an archive of thinking, an archive of cultural thinking. That if you want to know how a culture is thinking about race, is thinking about gender, is thinking about money, is thinking about fairness, is thinking about justice, literature is a very, very good place to go. Lately, we have been watching re-examinations of a lot of things that happened in the 90s. That Monica Lewinsky, Britney Spears, that really happened in the 2000s, but still, we're back to Britney. O.J. Simpson, Tanya Harding. And what happens with real people is that over time, they give you different information. You find out new things. That Britney Spears giving an interview in 2002 says really different things than Britney Spears on Instagram or Britney Spears in 2008. And with a real person, right, it kind of engages that social worker brain again. And we kind of want to make things better, and we should, right? Free Britney. But with a literary text, it stays still. It is complete by itself. There is no other Victor. Someone else can write another version where Victor does something differently, or Victor has some other circumstance, or Victor reveals something that wasn't in the 1818 novel. But it is complete by itself. And it tells you where the culture is in terms of thinking about things. One of the really beautiful things that I think about Frankenstein is that it does put you in this very, very strange position where we are told over and over again that everyone who sees the creature is horrified and disgusted, and that everyone who hears the creature is sympathetic and interested. And as the reader who only encounters it as a text, as words on a page, you are in the unique position of being the only human who doesn't see the creature, who only hears him. And I think that literature has this kind of really powerful effect by being words. And I don't trust images. The camera always lies. And if you're not sure if you can trust what you're looking at, it's important to be even less trusting now than it has been in the past. Oh, look, right? That one's a terrible one. Oh, that's a better one. With image and sound, there's a different kind of manipulation than happens with words and strings of words. You can change the font, you can change the sizing, you can get them all into a poster, but they do remain stable in a way that images and sounds are always manipulated. But I just want to return to that idea that literature is an archive of cultural thinking. And one of the next assignments that we do, we've kind of started doing this reception history of Frankenstein, but as we move forward, you'll be looking, each one of you will be selecting your own version of Frankenstein and thinking about how the cultural thinking has shifted, right? What changed from the way Mary Shelley was thinking in 1818 to whoever was making the thing that you're watching or reading in 2021? How did that change? What was the shift? So, Frankenstein raises great issues that we're still talking about. It gets told over and over again. So if you want to read like a social worker and figure out what would happen if something had happened differently, you can find the version that you're looking for. It's iconic. and you'll see it everywhere, and you are a smarter person for knowing what Franken means and what that image is that you're seeing all Halloween. And it makes this argument that literature is an archive of cultural thinking worth exploring. Okay, I will see you on Tuesday. Work on your papers. Bye.